years we've been home together. Oh, I'm going to record this. You already got it. Yeah. Good for you. That's how we work together so well, right? So about 6 years ago in February, or was it March technically?
End of February.
End of February. Jon came home to work full time with me, and we still haven't killed each other. And we've had a lot of people ask, how do you guys spend so much time together and still like each other? So we thought we'd just come and say hi and share some of our tips on how we work well together, how we built a pretty awesome almost 20-year relationship together. And we have our dog.
Dog scratching out
of the door. But hey, what else?
That's reality.
Yeah, we're just here, happy to be here. And anyway, Jon and I met. I want to kind of give a little background on this.
Please
Is that okay? So
she's the boss. She gets to choose.
I'm not the boss.
We're going right there.
Nobody's the boss. That's the first thing. But Jon and I met in September of 2000. And I was living in San Francisco in the city at the time. Shout out to my amazing roommates if you ever see this. I love those girls. What a great time that was. Such a magical time in my life. I was in public relations and high-tech public relations during the dot-com boom. It was a blast. And I came here to Utah for my cousin's wedding. And through a strange course of events, ended up meeting Jon. We ended up spending a lot of time together that first weekend. Well, we met on a Saturday night and spent a lot of time together till early in the morning, Sunday morning. And he didn't try to kiss me, which I was impressed.
Till 4 a.m.
No moves on the first date, which was kind of nice. Okay,
we kind of held hands. I have such mad games. She didn't even know the moves were put on.
Anyway, it was great, and we actually ended up going to church together the next day. And he held my hand there, which was like, whoa! If you held someone's hand at church, it was kind of a big deal.
I didn't know that was a thing.
He didn't know it was a thing. It's a thing for girls.
I just was like, I really did hurt. I'm gonna hold her hand.
I was almost 25. He was almost 24. Had just turned 24.
Yeah,
actually.
Just turned 24.
So we were both 24 at the time when we met. But anyway, I should have done the math. I wanted to see how many days it's been since September 22nd, 2000, because we have never missed a day talking in all those years. Good communicators, right?
Honestly, like going back to then, I think that was the foundation for our whole relationship. I know I'm going to go off on a little bit of a different tangent than like our story, but we started talking from day one. I mean, we hung out till like 4 a.m. till like 4 a.m. just talking in my car. And then that next day she flew home and I said, call me when you get home. And she legitimately called me and we talked for a few hours that night. And then it was every day until I saw her again. 2 weeks later, she came back into town 2 weeks later for her birthday. We talked every day.
Yeah.
And we just kept talking every day.
And we still talk every day.
We just kept talking every day. And we still talk every day, yeah. So even little things, even if it's like a 2-minute conversation of, hi, hey, what's up? And the dog is now entering the room. So when we work every day, it's me and Kat in here, and I'm usually on the other side of the office. But Zero, our dog, comes in too. Yeah. So it's usually the 3 of us. Our house, we're not used to all 6 of us and the dog at the same time. I think Zero's a little overwhelmed.
I think he comes here for solace because he knows that there won't be a lot of people in here.
So I want to dive into a couple things just real quick because, people do ask us, like, you guys have worked together how long and you still get along? And people always say to us, they're like, I could never do that. I could never do that. I'm like, what? How do you even know you could do it? If you could do it, you've never even tried. Like, I could never do it. Here's an interesting thing though. When I came home at first, I was like, hey, Kat had already started doing what we're doing. And I'd kind of thrown it out there and said, hey, I'll come home. Great. You do what you do. You keep doing the business and I'll just kind of start taking other stuff on. So I come home and I start doing the laundry and I start running kids places and I start doing all that kind of stuff. And then I wasn't as conscious about this at the time, but Kat let me know in a loving way that I was definitely kind of trying to boss her around because I was used to being the boss in the office. So I came home and was kind of bossing the situation around, and she's like, I already know how to do all this. Like, things already working. Like, just step out. And I was like, okay.
But I have to step in and say something though, because he'd owned companies and ran businesses and made millions of dollars in sales, and I mean, lots of money. He'd been in charge of a lot of people and businesses, and was important, right? And he was just trying to help, which I did recognize that when he came in and he's like, hey, maybe you should be more organized. And if you know me, not a strength. Not one of my strengths is to be organized. So he saw that and went, oh, wait, I could help you with this. And there were things that definitely, like, I remember that moment when I said, hey, I just want to let you know this is my turf. And I've been the boss at this place because I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years before that. And I was like, okay, I'm boss in this. This is my domain. I've kind of established this over the last 10 years, and I'm not sure I want you stepping on my turf. I know I didn't say it that directly. No. It was kind of more like, I know you're used to being the boss, and I don't want to be bossed around, and I don't think you want to be. But you don't really want to boss me around either.
I don't think anyone ever really wants to boss anyone around. I think it really just comes down to wanting to step in and help. And sometimes that can come across as feeling like you're getting bossed around. So guys out there that are coming home working with their wives for the first time because of situations that are going on in the planet right now, just take a deep breath, take a step back, and don't feel like, look, there's not a problem to be fixed. That's for dang sure. There's nothing to fix. It's just learning how to work together. And that really stems back to that communication. I think the biggest reason we're able to work so well together is because we communicate all the time. Good and bad, right? I mean, we had a moment today even where I was caught up in an idea that I had that was fixed in my mind, and Kat was trying to help me see that there was a little bit better way of looking at it. And at first I was, well, I guess
a different way.
I don't want to say better. There was a different way to look at it. And then I kind of was like, oh my gosh, hey, yeah, okay, that's actually better. That is better. It was a better way. She didn't say better. I said better. But at first, like, I was like caught in the moment of, I gotta like do the thing the way that was in my brain. And then I was able to take a half step back after we talked for a minute. I took a half step back, looked at it, and she didn't even say, you need to do this way. It wasn't even that. She was just talking about an idea. I was talking about an idea, and I was kind of fixed in my idea. And I took a step back and was like, oh, wait a second. Okay.
It's become so second nature, I can't even remember what you're thinking about. That's what's funny. Like, I can't even remember. But it's okay.
It was this Zoom. The time for this Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
Or this, right. That was like, I had something else in the calendar. And
I'm sorry. See, I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It just goes by the wayside. And that's one of the big things that that I had to learn. Women tend to be, and I know I'm stereotyping here, but forgive me because it is typically true. I'm a strong woman, and I am a yellow-red personality, sometimes more red than yellow, sometimes more yellow than red. I consider myself a very strong person, but women tend to be a little bit more sensitive and concerned about what, I don't want to say it in a way to offend, but I'll just say it. We tend to care about what people think more than they do in some ways. And I remember taking everything kind of personal, like me not being organized was kind of, it felt like an attack on my person, on my ego. It was like, I'm not a good mom because I'm not organized. I must not be a good health coach. I must not be a good daughter. I must not be a good wife. I must not be all of these things. Well, no, it's just a strength I hadn't developed yet. And still, it's one of the strengths I'm working on. But I am not my organization. You are not your weaknesses that you see in yourself. And I think that's a really big thing to recognize with a spouse, with anyone, with any relationship, is that any of those feelings that you get like, oh my gosh, they're beating me up. Nobody can beat you up except you. Like, it's the story you're telling yourself about your own weaknesses that hurt. It doesn't really come from them. It comes from inside. And that was a big shift for me.
Well, and even if when we were talking, probably, I mean, this is obviously going back years, right? But probably I was like, oh, this would work better. So try this type of a thing. It was just like information. Matter of fact, there was no right. You know, I honestly, I don't think it was a right or wrong scenario. I was like, hey, maybe
Yeah.
maybe if you want to try this, or maybe if you want to try that, it might work better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't even remember.
So you don't remember? Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, he thinks I'm so bad at this, and thinks he needs to fix me, and I thought I was good at this, and I'm broken, and da 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 da. And you go down this whole rabbit hole of thinking and taking things personally sometimes. And we do this, I think, a lot in life. And I've seen some people around me getting stressed out about their kids being home, and they're teaching school, and they're trying to work from home, and their husband's home, and there's all this stress. And I think, really, let's just take a step back. And we're all doing the best we can. And we need to assume the best in the other person always. Always. One of the biggest things that I think I've learned in our relationship is to always assume the best. That he's not ever, his motive is never to hurt me. And that's been a big thing. Like, never to belittle or hurt or make me feel stupid. It's always out of love. Like,
well, and a lot of times it's just statements. Like, I'll have a thought, I'll just say the thought, and I'm not putting as much, attention on the thinking about it before I say it.
mm-hmm.
And sometimes those things get construed as, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but then here's the key: is we'll talk about it rather than let it kind of build up and fester and hang on for a long time. And that's something else too, is just talk about stuff as you're feeling it, and maybe even say to each other, hey, can I speak openly for a minute? Can I be honest and share something with you? And you also have to respect the fact that even if you say that, it might not be the right time to have that conversation. And so the other person could say, you know what, I've got a call in 5 minutes. So if you can talk about it in 5 minutes, let's do it. But if not, let's do it after the call.
Yeah. And I think that comes from a place of wanting space between, there's a quote Viktor Frankl said, is that there's the space between stimulus and response. And in that space is learning. And I did butcher it, I'm sure. But basically, that's where learning and growth come from, is that space that we create between stimulus and response. When we start to feel an upset within us, wherever it is in our bodies, we start to create thoughts around that. And then we have emotions, and we have feelings, and we have things that, then our thoughts go crazy and our brains go nuts. And I think it's really about creating space and being able, like Jon said, to say, hey, I really want to speak openly with you about something. This is a story I'm telling myself right now. And I want to share with you what I'm thinking and how I see things. And then let's come together on this. And just being open. It's never about being right or wrong with us. And I think that comes from even the very beginning of our relationship. Like, I remember we talked on the phone a lot on our calling card that was 1.9 cents a minute. I thought I'd never forget that 800 number.
I forgot it. No.
But we would call each other, and we're waiting until 9 p.m. Pacific, so it was free on my cell phone, because we had our little dumb phones back in the year 2000. And I think it was just we always came at our relationship from a place of growth. And what can I learn about this person? How can I get to know him better? How can I grow in this? So
you guys were holding hands. I mean, when we sit by each other, we do hold hands.
I think that's another thing, is touch.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we held hands the first time we met, and I like holding your hand still. So there's times that, I mean, if you're holding hands, it's really hard to be mad at somebody if you're holding hands, like, for real.
We're not saying to fight while you hold hands. Or hold hands while you fight.
That's funny.
But passion is such an interesting perspective too. And I don't know, it was about a year ago, our friends, maybe not quite a year, probably 10 months ago, our friends came to town. They were doing a road show for a book. And I just I don't know what took over me, but I wrote down like 200 different ideas of things that we could talk about. And we've threatened starting a podcast for years, and who knows where this will go, but
I think we already started it.
I think we did.
It's kind of already
Who
here.
knows?
I don't know what it's going to look like from here,
But passion was one of them.
oh yeah.
And I think that that's important, is to I don't want to say match your partner's passion, but sometimes that can be really powerful. And I always think about, like, when people, I like to consider myself a recovering yeller. I'm not perfect. But I know when my kids were littler, I did yell a lot more than I yell now. And I'm trying to, like I said, create that space between stimulus and response. But when we talk with passion. And passion doesn't mean bad or good. Passion is just passion.
Well, if you're watching us, you know us. And I would say that we're both passionate people.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times we have conversations where we are both passionate. Now, some other people might call that a fight or an argument. I don't know. But when we're done, we're done. We don't harbor onto conversations that we've had for days and weeks and months. We have the conversation, we're done, we move on.
Yeah.
We live the passion. We in that moment. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's where you're planning on going with that, but
no, I think, I mean, it could be a whole day. We can talk about passion, and
maybe we will.
Maybe we will.
Kat wrote down 200 ideas.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but if you want to hear some of those ideas,
let us know.
Let us know.
Also, if you have questions, if you're having your own struggles and maybe your spouse came home, maybe you were both home already, maybe you haven't felt like you have a great working relationship.
Maybe you don't feel like you have a great relationship.
Maybe you I don't know, maybe there's like endless possibilities. I don't even know where I'm going, but basically ask us anything. We'll do our best to share our experience. I mean, we're not counselors. We're not.
No.
But I do feel like we have spent at least 10,000 hours working on this relationship very consciously. Minimum 10,000 hours. I don't even know how many hours.
We spend a lot of time in personal development growth. We really try to master that craft, if you will, and try to become better versions of ourselves and try to work on our relationships with other people. Does that mean we're perfect? Heavens no. I'm sure I offend people on a daily. Maybe, I hope not on a daily, actually. That would be a lot. But,
then you're impacting a lot of people if you're offending people daily, I guess.
That's true, yeah. But I mean, it's just about, doing our best every day to help other people become the best version of themselves. And sometimes it's just having some ideas bounced around or, whatever.
Yeah. So another tip I wanted to talk about today a little bit is we didn't talk about our schedule much. And I know that's one of the things people always is like, what's your schedule? Like, how do you work it? And we work in the same office, you guys, like in the same room. We do have a schedule. Go ahead.
I want to talk about the office. I don't want you to forget what you're saying.
No, I'm good.
This office that we're in, when we built the house, it was kind of my office. And so when I came home, I was like, that's my office. And
I did all my calls up in my closet.
Yeah. And then Kat had all these great ideas to change the office. And at first, I'm like, what the heck? This is my office. Like, don't touch my office. So I started to let some things come in. And then before I know it, like, this is truly a shared office. Now, I get not everybody can do that. And truly, so you understand, that doesn't mean that we're always both in the office at the same time together. There are things that I'll go do, things that she'll go do. If one person's like, I like to walk while I talk anyway. So very often I'll walk around the house anyway, or walk through different parts of the house.
Or one of us will leave the house to do phone calls.
Or go to the basement. Or if there's Zooms and one person's doing it,
I sat on the front porch today while John taught a Zoom for our team. So.
Okay, back to your idea.
Okay, so my idea is a schedule. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to do your work schedule. But this is also another topic that we could spend a whole day on if you wanted. is how to break down your day. And I think a lot of it has to do with grace and giving your partner grace on their schedule and giving yourself grace on your schedule, because sometimes we get John and I were talking about this today, sometimes we get so rigid in our thinking, fixed. If you're familiar with growth mindset, I talk about growth and fixed mindset a lot. And we get fixed a lot in our schedules. We're like, this is the day. I only have 24 hours. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And one thing that has really helped us is to have a little more fluidity, a little more flexibility. We were doing a leadership training, and one of the phrases within our company, and one of the phrases that just constantly comes to me is the person with the most flexibility in thinking and behavior stands the best chance of success. And that is like my mantra.
I'm working on that
in my life. Because if I can have, and that falls into exactly what we're dealing with right now with coronavirus and our kids home and school and not being able to leave as often as we like. And we're social people. We do not spend a lot of time at home. Really, we don't. So it's been really interesting. But like I said, we could spend a whole day on the schedule, but what I really want to talk about is specifically relationship scheduling. And John gives you the eyebrows up like, yes, we're scheduling
She's talking
stuff.
about date night, okay?
Yeah,
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah, I'm talking about scheduled date nights and date days and lunches and things like that will keep you guys not in just your working relationship, but in a personal relationship. Because we noticed after a few years that we were kind of we work together, and a lot of our work is social, so it feels like we're dating sometimes. I mean, like we're out and dating and we go to dinner with friends and stuff, and it's fantastic, but we also need our time with just the two of us to make sure that we are taking care of our relationship, and that we're like Tuesday mornings, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We go to the temple. It's closed right now. We can't do that. But that's our Tuesday morning. We go on a date to the temple. And then we have in our calendar Saturday evening a date night. Our kids are old enough to babysit. Our older ones are old enough to babysit our younger ones. So we usually work with one of the older ones to figure out who's going to watch the kids. If you don't have a babysitter in the right age bracket, you can be creative with your dating. And we're finding ourselves being super creative right now, where we put the kids to bed a little earlier, or we put them up in our room watching a show or up in the main level, and we'll go downstairs and watch a movie and say, Mom and Dad are going on a date. Don't bug us. We just want to be alone and watch a movie. And the kids are like, okay, bye.
That happened a couple of days ago.
Yeah. And we had a
Great time
watching a movie. So
laughed my head off.
I know, it was awesome. It's a good movie.
Do you remember which one it was?
Was it Crazy Stupid Love?
No.
Oh.
That one was funny though too. It was the romantic comedy one.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of that.
No,
Anyway,
either.
so, but it was funny. It had Rebel Wilson in it. It was great. So make time for date night. Make time for relationship outside of work, and have fun with it.
And we have a common ground. Like, we met, we fell in love, all that stuff, but we also have a common ground in that we have a relationship with God, and that is the center of our home. And that's really brought us together. And I know that everybody watching this, that might not be your thing, and fine. But find a commonality that you can both stick with and turn back to if you're having a little bit of a rough situation going on. Mm-hmm. Because that's something that I think just keeps you connected all the time. I see so many marriages and stuff fall apart from people, and they don't have anything that they're connected on. So when things get rough, it's just, I'm out. I'll go find the next one. And that's just sad to me, because there's so much, we have so much in common and so much love and respect for each other. And
we don't have the same opinions about everything.
Oh no. And then that passion.
I don't like cheesecake. He does.
Really? That's what we're going with? I love mountain biking, and there's times I go mountain biking and I'm just like, I'm out, see ya. And she'll go play volleyball, and she'll be like, she has more of a passion for volleyball than I do, and I have more of a passion for mountain biking than she does. And that's totally okay. So we make sure and take the time to do those kind of things.
Yeah.
Away from each other to create that space, but then also have that love and respect for each other and the common ground that we're built on, that no matter what, we turn to that common ground.
Someone asked me one time, when you guys go out on your dates, do you just talk about work the whole time?
I don't even know what we talk about.
So I've been thinking about that, because someone asked me that one time, and I've been thinking like, you know, we do talk a little bit about work for sure. And we see our work people as our family. So yeah, it's like how can we better serve our family? How can we help our family? And we think about our actual biological families and talk about them too. But I think the majority of our time, I would say, is spent dreaming together. And we do a lot of that, where we talk about like plans for the house, plans for our kids, plans for our yard, plans for his new mountain bike. I mean, whatever, like just even planning out our workout schedule. I mean, we'll talk about everything and just kind of be like, well, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? And what if we did this? And how important is this to you? And it's really
Your mom's here.
Cool.
I'm going to say that on. Kat's mom's here.
Well, we should probably wrap up anyway.
Hey, you guys, we appreciate you hopping on, taking a little bit of time. It's always fun to connect with people. And, you know, this is a season. This is a season that we're all going through, and we're all going to get better together. We're all going to work together to make this thing great.
We are.
But just love that one that you're with, and really just work on that. That's what keeps me going. So
have fun and just be your best self. Just see how you can improve your own person and be a better person than today than you were yesterday, and tomorrow than you were today. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.